We are back on the Audi R8 in today's video, guys, and I'm hoping to get this running properly and a bit more built up. In the last video, click in the top right hand corner if you haven't gone and seen that already. Started it for the first time, a little bit lumpy. So yeah, I'm trying to get it run a bit better today, maybe get some coolant in it and start burning it back up. Maybe drive it out. I mean, if it all goes well, that will be the plan. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching these. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram at saving_salvage. So let's crack back on and I'll show you what I've done since the last video. And that's not much really. All I've actually done is fit the air filters, which are completely filthy, but for the purpose of this test, they have the airflow MAF sensors on. So I've just plugged them in, which will regulate airflow just a little bit better. And I've also, I think, now wired up all my vac lines as well and plugged the sensor in for one. So that should also work a little bit better. So yeah, I think we're going to go for another start and just see if it runs a little bit better. Okay, yeah, so just by connecting up my air filters and MAF sensors and plugging in that other vac line, it's running 100 times better already than it was the other day. Hard to tell with the exhaust off, a little bit lumpy possibly, but there could just be a load of oil in the exhaust and on the lambda sensors, so it might not be reading the fuel correctly. So, I mean, there's loads of little variables at the moment, but for now, it seems to be running okay, which has given me confidence to now build it back up some more, get some coolant around it so we can run it out properly, because obviously I don't want to run it for too long with no coolant. And ultimately, I've still got loads of things missing from it as well. I'm sure all the sensors aren't properly plugged in. So I'm also just going to connect the diagnostic machine back up just to see if there's any codes for unplugged sensors that I may have missed. But yeah, it sounds a lot better. I feel a lot more confident than I was the other day. Right, so I've just plugged in the computer. I reset all the codes. I then ran the car again for about another 10 seconds, turned the ignition off, reread the codes, and these are the only two that I'm getting back. Ignition activation, cylinder 8 and cylinder 7, both open circuit. Now, I think they relate to the ignition coil or possibly spark plug. So I think that's a fairly good code to have because they're quite easy to fix. I think the first thing I'm going to do is replace all 8 spark plugs with new ones, because the 8 spark plugs that are in it are the ones that came off from the old engine that's been sat in storage for God knows how long. I'm not even 100% sure if they're going to be the right spark plugs. I mean, they should be. They came out the engine, but you know, they were actually different to the ones in the original engine of this car, if that makes sense. So I think definitely the first thing I should do is replace all 8 for new ones. So I'm going to do that, if the problem still persists, I can move around the core pack, see if it follows different cylinders or they stay the same, and then yeah, we can go from there. Now, I just want to pause the video there to give a massive thanks to today's sponsor, which is Y-Food. Now, for those of you who don't know, Y-Food is a meal replacement drink or powder. It is not to be confused with a diet drink. You can have it for breakfast, lunch, or even dinner. You can have it at any point during the day. It is super easy to make. The powder's just as easy as the drink. Powders is what we've got today. So essentially, you can have it two ways. You can either have a 1.5 kilo bag, or you can have these little pouches here, which is a complete meal ready to go. You literally put it in the shaker, fill it up with water, give it a shake for 10 seconds, and then you are good to go, and that is a meal. Now, a meal with the powders contain around 400 calories, with the drinks around 500 calories. Now, you don't have to keep these refrigerated, the powders or the drinks, and they keep you full for around 3 to 5 hours. Now, I love using them in the workshop, and even when I'm out driving. When I'm out driving, I usually take the drink, and when I'm in the workshop, I usually use the powder, just because I have a couple more seconds so I can prepare it. They have 26 different vitamins and minerals in. They are high in protein, they are high in fiber, they are gluten-free, they are lactose-free, and they're just all round good for you.
So if you want to try the powder taste kit, I'll put a link in the description, and that will automatically use my discount code using that link as well, and that will give you 10% off at the checkout, guys. So yeah, go give Y-Food a go. I've been using them for well over 2 years now, and I think they're great. So as always, a massive thanks to Y-Food for sponsoring today's video. So I've just come back in after a nice long weekend away, and I notice this nice large oil patch, obviously from when I had the engine running for a few minutes the other day. And no doubt that this is the reason the engine originally failed, because if it leaked that much oil within a few minutes, imagine what it was doing at sort of like 4,000 RPM over the course of an hour or more. So unfortunately, I'm fairly confident that it is I don't know if you, let me get the camera focus. It's coming from that pipe there, look. At that union, just what I'm trying to film there, which is the other oil pipe. That's just typical, isn't it? So I have already ordered it, and I have just gone and collected it. Guess how much that poxy little pipe was? Bear in mind, that is half the length of the bigger pipe that I've already bought.
So the bigger pipe was 350 quid. So you'd be very surprised to know that the lot smaller pipe was 400 quid. I mean, it just makes complete sense that the smaller pipe is 50 quid more. So that's great. So that's, what's that, 750 quid on a couple of pipes. So if anyone can make those a lot cheaper, you'll probably make a lot of money, because there's a lot of R8s and these pipes fail all the time.
And also, to go with my new pipe, I've also bought 8 new spark plugs, and I bought 2 coil packs just in case, because let's be honest, it's probably going to be the coil packs that are at fault. So instead of wasting time and trying the spark plugs not being the cause and then having to order a new spark, I just thought I'd order everything. I can always take them back if it's not those. So yeah, with all this, we should get it running a little bit nicer and also not leak. So as always, fitting this oil pipe was way harder than it should have been, and yeah, for such a small pipe, it was a lot harder to fit the other one. I had to end up removing the other pipe so I could sit the other pipe correctly. It sat behind it. I got covered in oil at the same time. Yeah, just a pain. So that pipe is all now changed in there, and what a pain in the arse that was. Ended up having to remove the other pipe to be able to seat it properly. And we've got the old one here, and you can probably have a bit of a guess where the oil was coming from. So that's all sorted now. So now we're just going to change these spark plugs, and I'm just going to change the 2 coil packs on cylinders 7 and 8. And I know this engine's the other way around, so I believe 7 and 8 are the 2 at the back here. So I'm going to change all 8 spark plugs, replace those 2 cylinder coil packs, give it a start, see if it runs a little bit better, check for oil leaks, and then yeah, we'll stick some coolant in and hopefully try and run it up properly. Yeah, if you can see there, look, completely different spark plug tips. Whether that makes a difference in the end, I don't know. Right, all plugs, them 2 coil packs now changed, so let's go for a start.
But then just weirdly, I Heard a very slight rattle. It goes and comes and goes away on this bank here. Now, if it was anything serious, it would be doing it all the time. Also, I've gone through all my live data. I've got nothing for ignition retardation. I've got nothing for misfire counters. I've got nothing for any fault codes. There's no fault codes at all. They're all clear. So there's nothing that leads me to believe that the engine's not performing. It idles great. So maybe I've just got a bolt loose or something. It's just rattling. I don't know at this point. But it seems to be idling absolutely fine. So I think what I might do is just put the coolant bottle on it, put some coolant around it, get some coolant flowing through it, and just let it idle for a little bit longer. Even when you heard it there, rev's fine as well. It could just be maybe back pressure, because I know there's no exhaust isn't on it, so there's no back pressure. So that could be affecting it slightly, possibly. And the fact that it's obviously, there's only about 2 foot from actually the end of the exhaust to the manifold, so it could be chucking out loads of, I don't know. I'm just clutching at straws at this point. So I'm just going to put it back together, get some coolant running through it, run it out properly. And yeah, it could be clutch as well. Don't know.
However, one bit of good news is there is no oil leaking on the floor, and it's been running a hell of a lot longer than it was the other day, so that's a good sign. So to get the coolant flowing around the engine, I need to fit the alternator because it is coolant cooled, as you can see, and I have my 2 pipes here, which should then complete the system, apart from the header tank, which I have no idea where it is. There she is. Plug the header tank in as well, and yeah, we'll top it up and get the water flowing. So I brake cleaned all around the oil cooler and the pipes, and the good news is there is no oil leaks that I can see, which means hopefully the reason this engine seized in the first place has now been rectified. And also, while we're here, obviously complete engine rebuild, loads of silicon, loads of parts that are bonded together. So just checking, I also can't see any oil leaks from within the engine itself as well. So obviously I've checked all this sumped, everything. I mean, there's so many things that have been silicon together, but good news is I can't see any trickling of oil or anything. There's where my alternator goes, look at my 2 pipes for it. So it's all looking good in that respect. So let's get the alternator fitted and top up the system. Luckily, fitting the alternator was fairly straightforward because it was right at the front or back of the engine, and access, as you can see, was really easy. Couple of coolant pipes, connect my electrical connections at the back, as well as my big fat battery cable. And the hardest bit was actually the fact that I forgot to push the tabs back so the alternator didn't fit in easily. But other than that, yeah, nice and easy. Auxiliary belt on as well. Header tank on as well, which is just 2 pipes join the header tank all together. And then I topped up with around about 6 litres of water. I will add coolant at a later date. So I've just got the engine burbling away now with coolant in. And to be fair, sweet. It's not lumpy anymore. Sounds good. As I said, about 6 litres of coolant in there now, circulating around.
Going to come outside so I can, you can hear me talk. So I'm going to leave it to idle for maybe 5-10 minutes, see what it's like. All seems fine at the moment. Yeah, as I said, let it get up to temperature, let the coolant circulate, make sure there's no leaks, coolant or oil. And then, yeah, I guess it'll be just maybe building a little bit more up, bleeding the clutch, and being able to drive it out. Don't know if that's a bit of a stretch today, but we'll give it a go, I've also checked the oil level as well, the oil level's good.
Well, I don't know about you, but that sounds friggin' sweet. So I actually left it idling for about nearly 20 minutes actually, and yeah, there was no more metallic noise, so I don't know what that was. but it sounded absolutely great. Didn't hiccup, didn't misfire once, absolutely spot on the whole time. Downside to only putting water in it is it overheats. So I must have put about 8 or 9 litres of water in at the moment. But once we know there's no leaks, which there doesn't seem to be, we are good. I did put the bucket there because there was a few dribbles, and that's just because I didn't put one of the clamps on one of the hoses, sorted that out. There doesn't seem to be any coolant leaks. So once I know that's the case, I will drain some of the water back out of the system and put antifreeze in, but we don't have to worry about that just yet. That is the least of my worries. So also it doesn't seem to be any more oil leaks. So yeah, really positive there. Definitely doesn't seem to be any leaks, or any other leaks for that matter either. So really happy with that. So you heard there as well with revving it, sounded sweet revving it as well. So I'm now just going to start putting the top cross member back on, doing a few obvious bits. I need to bleed the clutch, connect the gear linkage, connect the drive shafts, and fingers crossed I'll be able to drive this thing out. Whether I'll have time to do that today remains to be seen.
So I'm just removing both my air filters and mass meters so I can fit my main cross member that goes across the top there. I'm going to let you watch this because little do I know I'm going to massively regret fitting this. You'll see later on in the video. But enjoy!
Well, today so far has been nothing short of a disaster. I don't know how much B-roll I've just shown you, but I got absolutely fed up and turned it off because it's what, 12:30, been here 4 hours, and I've done, well, a couple of things. I'll show you. So at the minute I've just pressurized the clutch brake fluid system up to 2 bar, and I've just cracked off the release nipple to bleed the clutch, so that should be slowly bleeding into the bottle there. All I've actually done is fit 2 drive shafts and the power steering reservoir with a pipe going to the pump. That is it in 4 hours. It's just been one of those days where everything has gone wrong and I've had to undo most of the work from yesterday. And it mainly stems from, well, the oil tank. Because of the oil tank, I couldn't fit the drive shaft properly because it was in the way. So I had to disconnect all the suspension, the near side, to then be able to fit the drive shaft. This side, luckily no oil tank, so it went on okay. But then fitting the power steering reservoir with a pipe, that's what's taken the longest because of the routing of the pipe, and I'd already fitted this cross beam here. So by fitting that, it made it very difficult to try and work out the routing of the pipe, because it actually comes up in front of the drive shaft up there and round the back there, and then B, actually trying to fit it up the middle of the car. So yeah, fitting that cross member yesterday has cost me all this time today, annoyingly, but it always happens. You can never, especially the first time you're doing something, obviously if I did it again I'd know for next time, but the first time you're doing something, always get the order of assemble slightly wrong. Right, moment of truth. Can I drive it out? I've just tested the clutch pedal. It feels okay. So we're going to jump in and try and reverse this thing out the workshop. Got my nice little upgraded seat, so hopefully that will keep me nice and hugged in and be able to see out the windscreen. Yeah, clutch doesn't work. However, now cold start works. Jesus Christ, it's loud. Yeah, clutch isn't quite biting in enough, depressing enough, so I think I need to bleed it a little bit more. Well, I've tried to go bleeding it again. Take 2.
So here is the moment of truth, the moment I've spent all these hours working on this car. We have it running and we are about to drive it out the workshop for the first time.
Nah, I can't get a clutch. That's really frustrating. Yeah, I've tried and I just can't get it to go into gear with the engine running. It goes into gear fine with the engine off, but when it's running it just won't go in. You try to put it in and the car starts creeping forward, so it's trying to engage, but it's not quite enough. And now the first thing I'm thinking is the flywheel that we had skimmed, but the guy that skimmed it said he took such a little amount off it wouldn't have made any difference. But I've bled the clutch twice, 3 times actually, so the fluid's fine. It just won't go into gear. So it's a really frustrating end to the video, guys. I did really want to drive it out, but as it stands, it is still stuck on the ramp. Runs, but now I've got a different type of issue. So I'm now just a bit less optimistic because I'm now thinking I've got to take the gearbox back out, which would be very upsetting if I have. But that will be for the next video. Hopefully I can resolve it without having to do that. But if I have to, then I have to. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy the video. Please give me a like, thumbs up, and also let me know what you think of the project so far. And also follow me on Instagram at saving_salvage. So that's it for today's video, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.